Hello, my lovely class. Welcome back to StudyWave Academy, where education is without limit. Welcome back to our English class, and let's continue looking at the drug use and abuse. So I've told you what a drug is. We've looked at what a drug is. Then we looked at what now drug use is. So here we started with what is a drug, and it's just an substance that when taken it alters the normal functioning of the body. And then we looked at the drug use. Now this refers to the consumption of these substances, whether illegal or legal, for various purposes like medical purposes, recreational purposes, or even spiritual reasonings. So now here I was looking at the types of the drugs, the types of the drug use. Why do we use these drugs? So one, I've looked at the medicinal use. So we might choose to use these drugs because we want to we want to feel healed, or we want to be treated, or we want to feel better. So we use these drugs to treat a certain illness, okay? Then the second use is for recreational purpose. Here is where we use this to achieve a desired mood or a desired experience. And mostly I gave examples when you're going to a party and you want to just feel high, relaxed, happy, you use such drugs. Then I've looked at the performance enhancing drugs. Now with these drugs, they just improve your physical performance, endurance, and cognitive abilities. So they just help you gain more endurance abilities, okay? And mostly they're used with these athletes. They use them to seek a certain ability or a certain endurance ability, and they might use the steroids, they might use the stimulants. So it depends with what an athlete uses, and this is not allowed in sports. Again, let me just mention that you'll find that when noticed or when found, you are expelled from sports. So it's not used because it's unfair to the other people. Imagine you're on steroids or you're on stimulants and you're performing better, and someone is just the way they are. They haven't taken anything, and maybe they would win if it was a fair sports, okay? So to provide or to promote some fairness in sports, they do not allow the use of this. It's illegal. And then we have this other type. We call them the psychedelics, or the way you just want to say them. So these are the psychedelics, okay? So these substances like LSD or the psilocybin, okay? So these drugs, again, they're not that common, but we have you had something like mushrooms? Your friend tell you about mushrooms or something like, or magic mushrooms. So this is another example of drugs where they alter perception, your perception about something, or they just change your perspective towards something, and they change your feelings too, or they alter your feelings and your thoughts and everything, and they lead to profound experiences or hallucinations. You find that these psychedelics drugs, they're used to make someone start hallucinating. They make someone start hallucinating about some things. So you're seated and you just see yourself flying, or you're seated and you see yourself maybe on a long road trip or on the plane. So these drugs just make you start hallucinating. And there's some people who love this feeling, so they will use these magic mushrooms or these drugs to alter their thoughts, their perception, or even their feelings, okay? So this is another type of drugs. So do not forget about that. So class, I've looked at the medicinal use, the recreational use, the performance enhancing drugs, and the psychedelics drugs, okay? So now let's look at what is now drug abuse. So that was drug use. I'm trying to still break down this content so that we can understand deeply drug and drug use, okay? Drug use and drug abuse. We want to understand each content very well. Now, when you talk about drug use is just is characterized by the extensive or excessive, habitual, or uncontrollable use of a substance, leading to negative consequences. Now, drug use is now the uncontrollable or excessive or habitual use of a substance and leading to negative consequences. It involves the misuse of drugs in a manner that deviates from the approved medical or social norm. Do you know that even when you're given painkillers by the doctor and you use them use them differently from what the doctor expected you to use, then you're doing the you're involving yourself in the drug abuse. Okay, so drug abuse it's not just about the illegal drugs or the drugs that are not allowed by the government, but even legal drugs can be abused. You're given maybe a certain drug to take in the morning, at night, or in the evening with the doctor, but because there's persistent pain and you're in so much pain, you want to take this drug more than required. Or maybe the doctor told you these drugs will help ease your pain, so just take 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening, and then 2 at night. Then because you're feeling so much pain and you're crying and you're in so much tears and pain, you decide to take 4 in the morning, and then sometime later, even before the evening, you take other 2, then again at night you take 2. Already you're abusing this drug. Okay, or you decide to just take it, maybe you take 4 in the morning, then before even noon you take another one, before night you take another one. You're just using it excessively. So this is what we call drug abuse, the excessive use of drugs, or the uncontrollable use of this substance. Okay, so the doctor prescribes something for you, but because you're in pain, it's very, very understandable when you're in pain. Okay, it's very, very understandable, but because you're in pain, you want to overuse this drug, you want to excessively use it. Now you are abusing this drug. So now this is what drug abuse is: the excessive, habitual, or uncontrollable use of drugs. Again, I'll repeat: drug abuse is the excessive, habitual, or uncontrollable use of a substance, and it leads to negative consequences. Okay, so this involves misusing drugs in a manner that deviates. To deviate is just to move away from the normal thing that you're meant to do. Okay, so you just deviate from the approved medical way or the social norm. Okay, so that is what drug abuse is. Now we have different types of drugs, and I will now look at the different types of drugs. Basically, I just mentioned some when we were beginning. I mentioned the alcohol, and all those types that I mentioned. So we have different types of drugs, and I will just look at these different types. Okay, so one, we have stimulants. So I'm talking about the types of drug before I move to to each example. Like for example, alcohol, cocaine, marijuana. Okay, before I move to the specific drugs, I want to look at these categories of drugs, the types of drugs. So one, we have the stimulants. Now with stimulants, this includes cocaines, amphetamines, and this methamphetamine. Okay, they are very hard words to say, but these are the types of drugs, the stimulants, and I will explain them, do not worry. So right now I'm just giving you the different categories of drugs. So we have the stimulants. Okay, stimulants just make you hyper, they make you feel high. My battery is running low, sorry for that. I have to connect my charger, I forgot that, but it's okay, let's continue. It's really, really okay. So we have stimulants. Okay, and the stimulants include the types of cocaine, the types of amphetamine, the types of methamphetamine. Okay, but these are just drugs that make you want to feel high. Then we have depressants. So we have stimulants, we have depressants. This includes substances like alcohol, benzodiazepines, and the barbiturates. Okay, so these are just hard words to pronounce, but again, they're just the types of drugs that you must know. So my pronunciation or the way I'll be saying them might be wrong, but they're just complex words to even put them in your brain. Okay, so they're just examples that I included. Maybe some of you might have come across it or heard someone talk about it, which is okay. That's why I want to try and mention them. So we have the stimulants, we have the depressants, we have the hallucinogens. Okay, the hallucinogens are the ones I talked about, the magic mushrooms there, the ones that just make you start hallucinating and thinking of situations or creating some situations in your head that do not even exist in real life. Okay, so we have those ones. let's look at other types. We have the opioids, okay, and then this includes stuff like the heroin, the morphine, the codeine. Okay, so we have the opioids, don't forget about that, and even prescription painkillers such as the oxycodones. Okay, these are also opioids. We'll discuss them right now. I just want to look at the different categories. We have the cannabis too. Cannabis includes the marijuana and its related products, or the weed. Mostly people call it weed. I know when I say weed, it rings a bell for some of you, and I know most of you have heard the word weed being talked about. So we have weed too, okay? So don't forget about that. So we have this as another category. Then we have the inhalants. Now, inhalants, these are drugs that you smell them or you sniff them, okay? We have examples like glue, paint, thinners, and other drugs or other substances or other volatile substances that are inhaled for their mind-altering effects, okay? So we have inhalants too as another type of drug. Then we have anabolic steroids, okay? So that's another type, and we'll talk about this more. They are synthetic variation of the male sex hormone, but this is complex stuff. But so let me make this clear. The aim of this lesson is not to go deep into them and try to understand them scientifically, but the main aim here is just to mention the different types for your understanding, just for you to understand these types. We don't have to go like in-depth explaining each one of them and going for the scientific explanations. No, we just want to know these types. Then we have the prescription medicines or prescription medication. So this is the wide range of drugs prescribed by the healthcare professionals, okay, for various medical conditions. We have the antibiotics, antidepressants, painkillers, and more. So this is another type of drugs. Like I told you, even both illegal and legal drugs are all drugs. That's why you're seeing the prescription medications here as a type. So again, let me just go through these types of drugs so that we can understand them. So I've talked about, we have the stimulants, we have depressants, we have the hallucinogens, okay, then we have the opioids, cannabis, inhalants, and then we have anabolic steroids, and then the prescription medication. So these are the types of drugs we have. So just mention it so that we can have an idea of the types of drugs that are there, or the types of drugs that really do exist, okay? So right now I will move to something very important, and that is the commonly abused drugs. Now this is where we're going to majorly focus our class on, looking at the different types of the commonly abused drugs. What are these commonly abused drugs? And we just want to know them, so I will mention them again. The commonly used drugs. So here we'll just mention them before we look at their effects and look at how they alter the body functioning, or how they affect the body, or how they affect the body. We will first just mention them. So now let's look at the widely known drugs, and that is alcohol. I know all of you know alcohol and I've heard of the word alcohol. So this is the first drug and commonly abused. So mark my words, I'm looking at the commonly abused drugs, not just any other drug, but the common among the people in the community. So we have alcohol. Alcohol is found in beverages like beer, wine, and spirits. Okay, so it's found in beverages like beer, wine, and spirits. It is legal, mark the word, alcohol is legal. It's a legal depressant that affects the central nervous system. So the first example is the alcohol here. One, it is legal, it is allowed, but again, notice that it's not allowed to everyone, okay? It's not for everyone. There is a specific age limit. Children will never and can never and are not allowed to take alcohol or alcohol substances or alcoholic substances. Yes, it is legal, but for the adults. Mark those words, okay? So at your age right now, alcohol is prohibited. It's a no-go zone, so no one should be drinking at your age right now. So alcohol is the first common drug that we've come across, and it's a depressant. Take note of that. Alcohol is a depressant, and it affects the nervous system. So it's found in beverages like beer, wine. You find that there's a beer and it has a percentage of alcohol or something, maybe wine and a percentage of the alcohol in it.